I really like the hammered look, so I went with the Hammerite Hammered Gray, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. So what I did is take the bottom piece and just painted the bottom of the bottom piece just to see if I liked it. And if I didn't, I was going to go and get a different paint color to paint the rest of it. But turns out I kind of liked the way it looked. The cool thing about Hammerite is it's made to paint over rust, and there is a little bit of flash rust in a couple little spots there, and I painted right over it. I've seen a couple of these mills painted with the table down in the ways of the table there on the cast iron part with an accent color. So I got some Rust-Oleum red and painted that, and I'm not 100% sure I like it yet, but once the mill comes together, if I don't like it, I can sure strip it off and put a different color on. Well, since the bottom had dried for a few days, I decided I like the color, so I'm going to paint the top of it and see if the paint on the top surface looks as good as it did on the bottom. Another thing I'm trying to do is to try to get the feel of how much paint goes on where with what type of brush. And this is a part that's a lot of it's not going to really be seen. So I'm kind of practicing on it. This aluminum guard is really rough casted, especially on the inside. So I took a file out and decided I could knock down some of the big chunks on it before I painted it. And once again, since I like the color, I decided to do the arduous task of masking. Uh, Masking is a tedious job, but if you want a decent paint job, you gotta mask it. And I spent the time with razor blades going around it and getting it masked off pretty well. I cleaned this casting, all the castings up from stem to stern, so it's pretty much raw cast iron right now. So I want to make sure that it's protected, and I even like to have it clean in there so it's easier to clean. If it's got a nice painted surface on it, then it makes it real easy if you have to clean it. But not just cleaning only, it does protect it. It protects it and it makes it look nice. And I just like to paint everything. If I'm going to do some painting, I like to paint the inside and the out. It became clear too that the inside of these castings are real dark, so I had to get a flashlight out just so I could make sure I got every nook and cranny up in there uh, covered with paint. It's funny too. I had to think about the order of operations too when painting because a lot of these things are standing or too heavy to hang up. So I had to figure out how they're going to sit, where to paint it first, where I could grab. So it's I almost had to do like a, any type of machining had to do an order of operations. Okay, since this is aluminum, this hammerite was not aluminum hammerite. So what I did was used a etching primer on it first and let it dry for, oh goodness, a week. And it's not because I was trying to let it dry for a week. It was just because I couldn't get to it in time. But it dried, and now I can put the hammerite paint on it. I've never painted aluminum before, so I was really concerned about this. But so far, so good. I guess time will tell. But it seems like it painted on there really nice. This particular casting I actually bought off of eBay because it had a door on it that covers the gear. My other one didn't, so for the price of just the door, I got the door and the casting. Since most of the big pieces are painted, now it's time to clean the little metal parts that go onto them. Now my go-to cleaner for these greasy parts is Purple Power, and it worked here, but there was something really weird going on. It didn't just dissolve the grease, it was kind of like balling it up. So after a while I had to wonder if I should try something different. The gear cleaned up really nicely, that back gear there. Once again, I'm noticing that the Purple Power is cleaning certain parts, but once again, the grease is not kind of like dissolving. It's kind of like it's going in like little balls. And what's really weird is it's hard to clean the tray up at the end. The little grease balls stay on there. I'm so happy that these parts are really cleaning up nicely. This bull gear cleaned up, looks like new. Now, once the spindle was cleaned up, I made sure that I put some WD-40 on it, so at least it's de-rusted, but it doesn't have any corrosion protection. That'll protect it slightly. So this bent dust cover, I just took a piece of my aluminum and used it kind of as a punch just to straighten it out. Then I took it over to the buffer just to kind of buff it out a little bit. Now that little piece that broke out, that's mainly cosmetic, that I JB welded, and I took a little round file, made sure just to clean up all the JB weld, which is just a little bit that seeped out. Alright, well here's that two-step pulley. I noticed something on there. There was some brazing right there. I figured out what had happened is there's two pieces. I didn't know that at first. And this bushing split in a couple of places. And so instead of getting a new one, they just kind of brazed it on there. So I'm going to see if I can find a replacement, but if not, I kind of shaved down a little bit to make sure it was smooth in there, and but it looks pretty good. And with a small file, I want to clean up where the set screws had been. This shaft cleaned up so well, I went and buffed it and turned it into a little mirror. Alright, that has a little bow in it there, and gotta try to flatten that out. That's supposed to be flat. So I'm going to try to mash that back into shape. So I took a heat gun, heated up a flat piece of metal, put this thing in a press with a couple of pieces of metal over it, and just kind of slowly throughout the day kind of added heat and a little pressure. When I first took the change-o-matic gears off the mill, I noticed that one of the gears had broken, and I knew I was going to have to address that. Guys, I'm extremely fortunate. This is from my Atlas, lathe. Atlas lathe. That's a 24 tooth that's broken. This one is a 24 tooth that is not broken. So we're going to use this one. These are the same gear. What are the odds? Well, I got smart and started using odorless mineral spirits on these other parts, and it dissolved the grease and got it off of there, really cleaned them up quickly and nicely. Couple things. I had to press this old little thing here out of the 24 tooth one. It's actually out of the bigger one here that's broken. This is a 43 tooth, it looks like. And I'm glad I keep old parts, because this came from a lathe, and I couldn't get this 24 one from the lathe to fit onto that. Well, good thing is this little thing fits on here. You just got to get it in, but it fits on here and it fits on here. So must have taken some damage on these, so that's good. And also I found when I was cleaning up this 64 tooth one that some of the teeth are messed up on it, so I got to see if I got a 64 tooth. And this, boys and girls, is what you call good clean living. Look at that. broken 64 toother off of that one, and from keeping parts from my other one. Ooh, it's a little bit different. It's 64 teeth, but it's a little bit smaller. Ooh, just by a fraction. I think we may have, that may have worked. Here's the new 64 that I stuck on, and the new 24, I think it is. And looks like everything works. Oh, wait a minute, that's the old 64. I got to put on the new 64, see if that works. Might have been celebrating too early. That's even better. Oh wow, we got lucky on that one, ladies and germs. Lucky, lucky, lucky. I'd rather be lucky than good any day. Fantastic. Alright, 2 broken gears, and I had 2 replacement gears right here. Awesome. So excited, guys. It worked. It flattened out. And I do believe it goes this way, but either way it fits. So awesome. Well, now that I know that it works, now it's time to take all this assembly apart, get it cleaned up. Now what's kind of weird is the odorless mineral spirits take off the grease really nice, but it kind of leaves it stained. So I came in after that with the purple power, and the purple power takes the stains off and makes it look nice and shiny. Well, not shiny shiny, kind of like aluminum. It looks like aluminum. Alright, this is kind of historic in this sense of, on this build, this is the first thing that I'm actually going to put oil on. So it's cleaned. We'll oil it up. We're going to start getting this thing back together. I'm excited about this. Hopefully we can have it running sometime. If anybody's curious what kind of oil I'm using this South Bend lathe. It's type C. Well, I don't know if that's appropriate for this, but it says everywhere on the South Bend. So we'll get a little on this bushing. And we'll get that in there. Excellent. I'll get the collar on and get it locked down. Well, I played with the collar, got it locked where there's just, I can feel there's a little bit, maybe a couple thousandths on there. It spins nice and free. And now, historic part number 2. Getting this thing back on. So it's starting to come together. I'm excited about it going together. Okay. Now let's put some gears on it.